Hi, this is Gurasi Singh, and you're listening to my Thick Accent podcast. So, as the global landscape continues to evolve, people from all walks of life are faced with new challenges and opportunities. Whether it's pursuing a dream, adapting to a new environment, or overcoming obstacles, our guests bring forth their unique experiences and wisdom that ignite inspiration and drive change. And my guest today is one such person who have embraced change and charted his own path. Through his story, we will discover the power of networking, the importance of embracing diversity, and the endless possibilities that lie before us, and how a little preparation before moving countries can make a huge difference. So let's unravel the lessons he learned, the triumphs he achieved, and why the movie Black Panther is the reason he's in Canada now, and how is he so proficient in the German language. Please welcome Prateek Bawa.
Thank you so much, Gurasis. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the podcast, Prateek. And I want to start by clarifying something. I'm very curious to know something I heard, and which was that you are the top 1% Google reviewer on the Google local guides in Saskatoon. Tell me a little bit about what is behind that.
Right. So, when I moved to Saskatoon from Toronto, Gurasis, in 2020,
Yeah.
I think 2021, that is when, it was a new city for me. And I always have this passion for taking, photographs. So, doing photography, especially, landscapes and all those different, things. And when I came to Saskatoon, it was all white, definitely. And I thought, you know, let's do something different. So I started using my photography skills and photographs that I clicked
Yeah.
and uploaded on Google. So I started to review different restaurants that I went to. I started to review different places in Saskatoon, and I was just very consistent doing that. And some of my photographs did garner a lot of reviews. And
Mhm.
now fast forward today,
Yeah.
I have, I think, almost 25 million views on
Oh,
different
wow.
photos that I have on Google. So it definitely, as a Google local guide, it helps other people who are searching for something online, the type of reviews they are searching for, or photographs. So that is how it all started, and I still continue to do that.
That's very fast. When I heard about it, I was like, okay, this is something completely new. Like, yes, we do see like everybody, all of us, whenever we go to a place, it's the time we live in where we can look at the reviews and everything. So you are definitely doing that God's work for people, letting people putting in the right direction. But is it something that you have to like kind of get into like a I don't know? Is it like you have to like get certified or something like that, or is it like anybody can do that? It's just like that.
So you don't need to get certified, but it just like Google itself as a local guide, you have different levels
Okay.
that gets unlocked based on how many pictures you upload, based on how many videos you upload, how many comments you have or reviews for a
Uh-huh.
restaurant or a specific place. So as and when I do these things, I get a new batch. So something new unlocks for me, and the more batches you earn, it gives you more credibility to your profile. So that essentially what happens, but there is no specific certification or anything that
Okay.
you need to get through to start reviewing or
Okay.
uh, uploading these things. Yeah.
And is there any point that you can like monetize that thing, that traffic that you get, or no?
No, there is no way to monetize that. But however, what I know, so Google has this event where they, I think, they obviously put forward names of, I think, top 100 local Google
Mm,
local guides
okay.
from across the world. Sometimes I think they do get some kind of like Google goodies and stuff like that.
Interesting.
But personally for me, because I am not definitely at that level, I do get some sometimes, let's say, a $10 Google Play store card or something
Okay.
like that, credits to purchase something.
Mm,
So very, very small things, but there is no essentially a way to monetize this. This is just from sheer something that you want to give to a society and be part of that more bigger reviewer community from Google.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think always something is better than nothing. And this is not something you are kind of really dependent upon. So when I read about that, like I told you, I was very fascinated. I wanted to just know more about it. That was why this question. Okay. So we'll definitely talk more about the work that you did in Saskatoon and other parts of Canada. But I want to go back to the time you spent in Delhi. Tell us a little bit about your formative years and when was the first time you heard about the country Canada?
Okay, so again, I was born and brought up in Delhi. Have spent I think most of my time in Delhi with my parents, and then obviously I moved to different cities to work.
Mhm,
I moved to Germany to do my master. So obviously a lot of moving, living apart from parents.
mhm.
But I think Canada, as a country that could be explored from a career perspective or from settlement perspective, I think this was kind of coined, or this was seeded in my mind. I think probably in 2018,
Okay.
when I was just having a discussion with my friend. So I think that is the year when I came to know about this immigration pathways and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, but what were you doing before you immigrated to Canada? Or tell us like what the focus was on growing up.
So growing up, obviously, had different peaks and valleys, ups and downs. But I think if I talk about my childhood, for example,
Hmm.
right, I was always, I think, top five, from in every grade I
Mm.
was among top five, person who is very good in education. I loved playing sports,
Uh-huh.
and definitely when I talk about sports, cricket in India is very big,
Yeah.
and I did invest a lot of my time playing cricket. I also did play for a couple of clubs.
Mhm.
I was also part of one I think pre-Ranji selection match that we have for Delhi. So
Really?
I played like for different leagues and different clubs when I was growing up. I think till grade 11th, 12th,
Okay.
and that's when I decided I don't want to. But from a personality perspective, I was very shy person,
Mm.
in my childhood. But fortunately, I have like very modern parents who were very modern with their thinking. Uh, I can't recall a situation wherein they said no to whatever I wanted to do in terms of academics, choosing a career, and all those things. They were pretty, forward thinking, open about all those things. And I think that's when I got my first job after my graduation and doing German language. I had to relocate to a different city, and that's when my mom said, "You have to go out of the house because that's when you start learning, you become independent, and you really know how to live in a society."
Yeah.
So I think all of that unfolded, as I was growing up. Lots of time spent on education and sports, during childhood, but then upbringing, definitely it was all, I think, thanks to my parents and my friends. It helped me. Yeah.
And which city did you go to?
I was going to Chennai that time. So definitely very different from where
Mm.
I was living earlier, different language, different culture, definitely very different weather. So yeah, it's a southern city in India.
Yeah. So it was also Pratik the first time you were moving out of the house, right? So how was even though you were less in the same country and people somewhat speak the same language also, but how was that experience like for you? Just like kind of uprooting from your house and kind of started living on your own.
It was very exciting. And why it was exciting was because the company that I was hired for, which was, Amazon at that time, they, I think they manage our move or relocation pretty well.
Hmm.
So I was, very confident, and I did not have any fears. Oh, okay, I'm going to a new city. What will happen? Where will I live? So everything was pretty much taken care by the company for at least, I think initial 3 4 weeks. And then obviously, I think I am someone who really likes to do my pre-work, or
Mm.
kind of proactive understanding of where I'm going, what I need to
Of
do. So
course.
I
Yeah.
think I always had that kind of quality in myself. So I think that really helped me. And then obviously, uh, you make different friends when you move to a new city. You
Yeah.
have a batch of people joining together. But I think overall it was exciting. Definitely that language barrier was something which was on mind, and probably the food also sometimes. But I love South Indian food, and I knew that I can also maybe learn a language if required. And
Yeah.
I did learn a language actually
Hmm.
in Chennai.
So is there something about Chennai or the southern part of India that you think you would like to share that people don't know about?
I can share one very interesting thing.
Sure.
So when I was in, Chennai, obviously, as you know, or probably a lot of people who know about India, they know that cities in south of India are very different, culture,
Yeah,
language, weather. But definitely when you are in a boardroom, you have a lot of people who are, are in your company from, local people, and
yeah,
then you are a migrant, kind of,
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
have come from a different city, you don't speak the language. It became very difficult sometimes because, people will start talking in their local,
Hmm.
language. But then I was like, Prateek, this is a great company. I want to work for this company. How can I do something different? Or how can I be part of their culture?
Yeah.
Can I do anything? Right. So I decided to learn Tamil.
Hmm.
Right. And that time there was a song which was, I think, composed by A.R. Rahman, which is one of the greatest,
Composers. Yeah.
music person, composers. So I thought, let me learn this song. I remember we, kind of, every corporation or every employer has some kind of, activities or some kind of, social clubs. And so I decided I want to learn this song and I will sing that song in front of all local people on the floor.
Oh wow.
And I did that and people were amazed. So I used to have an
Hmm.
Excel file. There were two people from my team who would help me learn two new Tamil words every day. So I will have a Tamil word, what is the translation in English, and then I used to use that in, the day to day conversation. So I
Hmm.
think all of that really helped me to become part of their culture, and definitely they appreciated that. So I think that was something which probably not a lot of
Hmm.
people know, but I learned the song, I learned the language, and it really helped me to, be closer to them.
That sounds incredible. I think this really shows that your interest to really feel belonged and actually appreciate the culture that you are living in, right? So, yeah, I love that. So, tell us a little bit about your career choice, how you got into this career and first time kind of got interested into it.
So I think I have made, a couple of different career choices. If you see my experience as well,
Yeah,
last 10 plus years, I think initially when I was graduating, I was, just doing graduation in, business administration. I was not into computers and stuff, but I always wanted to do something different. And that's when I picked up German language when I was still doing my bachelor's,
yeah.
right, in Delhi. I did my German language for 3 years, and definitely I wanted to leverage the language skill that I had. And that's when, I joined, Amazon as a German language translator. So that was a very different career shift, different career move. I was, doing a lot of different, interpretations and language and, all those things using language. But then as I was working there, I quickly understood that I want to get a master's degree, because anyone who is managing at the top level, even if they don't know the language, they are still managers,
Yeah,
because for management you don't need, language skills, but you need managerial skills. So I
absolutely.
think that's when I, you know enrolled myself into an MBA program. I came back to Delhi, got into myself into a college, did that for 2 years. So
Hmm.
that was leaving my job and doing full time. And after my MBA, I think again my career shifted. So I, got into another technology company, and then since then I've been working in technology companies, specifically working on strategic partnerships, partner management, and those kind of relationship
Hmm.
building account management roles. So I think again two career shifts. One was from German language, and then post MBA, which is more managerial, relationship building. You're doing a lot of presentations, a lot of sales and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Okay. But usually, Pratik, people are very hesitant to shift the careers or kind of get into a new industry. So, what encouraged you to do that, or were you like hesitant to do that at some point?
I think I was not hesitant because I always knew that after my MBA, I would probably change something,
Hmm.
because I know the language, but you can only go so far with the language, right?
Yeah,
Language is good. You can work, for a company which is based out of, let's say Germany. But still, if you want to, go to that, more upward hierarchy positions, management positions, you need different kind of skills. So I knew that, I would have to change, and I was absolutely okay to work in a non-German profile.
Hmm.
So German still being my strength,
Yeah.
I have an added language, but I was pretty certain that this would come at some point. And but I'm fortunate that I got into this specific domain of strategic partnerships and partner management, because this is universal. So every
Yeah.
company, whether it's tech, non-tech, India, North America, you talk about any geographical place, they all have this team. They all have these people who are
Hmm.
managing their clients or a book of business,
Yeah.
and then also helping them sell. And I think getting into sales has been uh, definitely challenging when I got into it earlier initially, but I think it has been very satisfying.
Hmm.
I love doing sales. It has changed my personality. I've become more extrovert. I've obviously picked up few skills while doing this. So yeah, I think I love that.
Yeah, definitely sales is one of the industries where you have no choice but to talk to people, and you end up like building their communication skills, which are, I think, can be transferred into any career you choose in the future. Well, you said one thing, that German language can take you so far, but it definitely took you a little far when you moved to Germany, I believe, in 2014 to do your master's in international business.
Yeah.
So, and this was also the first time before you moved to immigrated to Canada, you immigrated to Germany for some time. So, tell us about that experience and how was your first day when you moved there?
Oh my God, that's definitely an experience,
I
Gurasi.
bet.
I still can't believe it happened. It happened to me. I can't believe. I think I was just very fortunate to have that phase in my life. And what happened was, when I was picking up colleges, for MBA, uh, obviously, I was going through different colleges in different cities, but then I finally, drilled down to a college which is, in Noida, which is, just like a GTA or a greater,
Yeah.
a nearby city, to a major city. And when I enrolled and when I paid my fees and everything, I got an email saying that they have established a strategic partnership with a German university, and we would be taking few people from this batch
Hmm.
for an all expense 100% scholarship trip to Germany for a semester, which is 6 to 8 months.
Oh, wow.
Everything paid by the university. And I was like, as soon as I got my email, so this is still before the session has actually started. I think session started in July. I got this email probably May, June, and
Hmm.
I was like, Prateek, I can see myself going to Germany, because I would have been perhaps the only one, or probably fewer people who know the language.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and that happened when I joined. I came with an experience. I was doing German translations and stuff, and I was probably one of the first person to be picked for this. Obviously, they had a different process. You had to go through some exams and group discussions and language tests and stuff, but I was fortunate to be picked, and I was also asked to actually manage our entire group of 10 students
Hmm.
and represent them when I'm in Germany, because I knew the language, so it
Yeah.
was easier for me to communicate all the pre-arrival stuff, onboarding, like boarding and
Hmm.
lodging and all those things. And then first day Germany, very very happy. We were 10 of us. I could speak the language. I could see things which were written on airport, on streets. I could read
Yeah.
that, and I can comprehend that, and I could relay that to other students who were with me. And then there were people, for a couple of students from the university who actually came to pick us up
Hmm.
from the airport. But I think it was definitely an amazing experience, amazing memory, to be cherished, I think, forever.
And this is actually also the true example where you never know what skill you kind of honing on to, or you just adding another feather to your cap. You never know when this is gonna help you and see you end up getting the opportunity to go to Germany. Um, I want to talk a little bit more about that, your master's there, Prateek. And when I was reading that reference letter from your professor, and they were talking about the program a little bit, I want to just quote from the letter. It said that the core vision of the program is that differences between markets, societies, and cultures matter, and that these differences are not only to be seen as challenges, but as chances as well. And when I read that, it resonated with me. And that's exactly I try to talk more and more about on the podcast. And that's exactly the guests I bring on, they have embraced through their life, to their journey within Canada or whichever the part they've immigrated to. But I want to know more about you, that what exactly the work that you were doing there and how that experience have kind of facilitated the process that you end up having in Canada.
I think that's a great question, and glad that you read that letter from. I
Of
still
course.
remember Professor Greg, Bruger Lambert, who was heading the program. So this was a master's program in international business, and really, the I think pedagogy of this program was to really have subjects
Hmm.
and understand and get knowledge about those subjects, both from a mature market perspective and also from a developing economy perspective, right? So whether you talk about marketing, whether you talk about cross culture communication,
Yeah.
any subject that you see, uh, there is a different kind of I would say implementation of the same subject when you compare a developed economy versus
Hmm.
a developing economy,
Hmm.
right? A lot of things change, a lot of things, the way you do work changes. So I think obviously this course was really unique in itself, because we had people and students coming from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
It was not only Germans and us Indians being there. There were people from China, there were people from Mexico, different countries, sharing different dialects.
Yeah.
It was definitely, the course was delivered in English, but I think really something which helped me personally, or what I gained from that was obviously learning about German as a country. I
Hmm.
was always intrigued to know about the country, because I have spent 3 years of learning that language. But apart from that, it was all about uh, how you all come together from different cultures, how you embrace that change, and then what can you pick up from those different conversations.
Absolutely.
So how different things work, what is story behind German students, what is story behind Chinese students, what is story behind people coming from let's say Mexico. So it was really I think a game changing I think kind of situation for me, because I definitely improvised on my German skills,
Hmm.
but then I also learned on how to become friends with people from different cultures,
Hmm.
how to embrace that change that I spoke about earlier, and how to collectively work together as a group, right? Because when you talk about working in MNCs and career progression, you would likely work with people from different cultures.
Yeah.
So it would definitely make sense if you understand those small cultural differences. What is good in one culture may be different in one culture.
Yeah.
And then really I think it helps you to really do that effective communication, understand the cultural differences, and I think all of that really helped me to prepare for my move to Canada,
Hmm.
right? Because I already worked with people from different culture. I could speak a different language. I have lived apart, separate from my family, where I was all alone with other students. You are doing everything from studying to your day-to-day jobs and running errands on yourself. So I think all of that really helped me to prepare for my Canadian journey, I would
Yeah.
say.
And I think I want to just also commend you for being able to, or I would say that I want to commend you for making use of that advantage that you got of moving to abroad, to Germany, to another country, because I feel like many people completely dismiss that opportunity and they kind of stay within their own horizons and they don't try to kind of expand that. And but like you said, all those things is helping you now with your move to Canada, having that understanding of culture nuances, being able to talk to people, being able to ask the right questions, right? So speaking of which, let's just delve into your Canadian journey, and also I wanted to share with our listeners why the movie Black Panther is the reason you decided to come to Canada.
Absolutely. One thing before I talk about or answer this question is, Gurasi's, great things or magic happens when you step out of your comfort zone, right?
100%, yeah.
And a lot of us do that, every day, right? All of us do that every day. But sometimes, we still, I think restrict ourselves to not doing that. And I think that is, the difference between people who embrace change, who become
Yeah.
successful, or, I think so. That is very important for me. Now, coming to your question, Canada, Black Panther. So it all started, I told you 2018 was when I actually went to see Black Panther with one of my friend who was from my master's, MBA time. And while we were in the interval, he told me that I have few friends who are in the US who are planning to go to Canada. And I was like, why? Everyone wants to go to the US. It's the great American dream.
Yeah.
And then he told me about, challenges that they have for getting the green card and all those things. And, how Canada immigration, system, they are pretty lenient from that perspective. And if you are educated, you get good, scores, IELTS and all those things,
Yeah.
you can actually become permanent residents. And that is when that initial seed was planted in my head, and that's when we both started exploring about different programs and pathways on how can we, who have good experience, we are master student, we have good command over the language, how can we go to Canada as permanent residents and can eliminate that struggle life that a lot of other people would have, right, when
Yeah.
they migrate. So I think that's how it all started. And then I think 2018 it started, probably early 2018, and 2019 September I was in Canada. So I
Mhm.
think less than 2 years, all of that happened. We figured out a pathway, and I came, from what is the program that is called, where they invite,
Experienced skilled workers is.
yeah, experienced sales workers, right, right. So that's the class which I took to, come to Canada. Yeah.
Mhm. And was the process complicated for you, or was it like smoothly you went through?
It was not complicated. It could be for a lot of others, but I think for me, it just happened. So
Mhm.
we met a lawyer. We obviously consulted different consultants, understood the process. There is lots of information online, but because I was working full time, I definitely took help of an experienced lawyer, because
Hmm.
I did not have that time to do all of that. And I obviously now, when I know that this is a pathway, I did not want to delay that as well. So I don't want to wait for 3 4 years doing everything on my own and just
Yeah.
doing something wrong. So I thought, let me get a lawyer. And I think everything went really smooth, from giving your IELTS exam, having those funds, and preparing myself mentally, financially, or
Mhm.
whatever you want to say, and then be ready to be in Canada. So I think, yeah, everything was very smooth.
Okay.
Touch wood.
So in 2019, you said you landed in Canada. So tell us about your first day and what was going on in your mind.
Very good day, thankfully. I still remember. So my cousin sister lives in Canada.
Okay.
Okay, she is in Toronto, and I decided to come to Toronto again because it has more opportunities. I already have a cousin sister, uh, and when I called her from the airport, I was like, "Sister, I am here. I will take a taxi, and I am coming to your house. I have your address." And she was like, "No, you have to wait. We are
Okay.
just 10 minutes away. We have taken leaves from our office, and we are 10 minutes away from picking you from the airport." So I was really happy. I was not expecting them to pick me up, but it always feels great when you have family or friends coming to pick you up from the
Yeah.
airport. So they picked me up from the airport. I was definitely mesmerized. It was not very different because I have spent a lot of time in Germany, so it was not that I'm coming to a developed country for the first time.
Hmm.
But still, that weather, I came in September, it was fall season. I can see my brother-in-law, my sister, and then we went to the mall. I think that was the first thing, because I was hungry, so they thought, let us take you to the mall, we'll enjoy some time. And they just did not want me to sleep, so that I don't have the jet lag. So I think that day was spent with them chit chatting. I was in the mall, we had some great lunch, and they picked me up. So that was my first day. Really interesting.
That must be tiring to go to just mall. I mean, yes, it would be exciting, but after like 22-hour long flight, just not going to the bed and just going outside. How was that like?
It was not at all, because I still remember the first day we were just talking about some random things. I met my brother-in-law and I was staying with them. I think, I don't know, like, I was just so excited
Of
and
course.
I had that different energy. I think some people have that. Uh, I did not feel tired at all. I was just enjoying. Definitely the reason for going to the mall was that they don't want me to sleep now in the
Yeah.
afternoon because I will get jet lag. So I was like, yes, and I was definitely exploring. So I think we took the whole day just to explore around, just to see their condo, their apartment, what they have. So I think I was not at all tired. I was very energized, very happy.
Okay. And you did talk briefly about that, this is not the first time you're immigrating to a new country. So was there like any if you can kind of reflect on that journey and tell us like about the major difference you saw immigrating this time compared to the time we moved for the first time?
I think lots of differences,
Hmm.
and when I talk about differences, because we were going to, a master's program in Germany, a lot of things were taken care by the university. So
Okay.
everything was taken care in terms of accommodation, in terms of food, where are we living, what buses we would have. We already had our bus passes when we landed. So I think pretty much it was all kind of given to us on a plate
Hmm.
when it comes to the relocation aspect of the journey, right? And
Got it.
obviously we
Yeah.
have to study, but everything apart from that was pretty much taken care. Now here obviously it was all myself, whether it's finding a house, knowing which bank account to open a new account, which part of the city you have to live in. But apart from this, how would you get a job? Because
Yeah.
you are here not on scholarship. You have little savings that you will burn very quickly if you don't get the job. So I think it was very very different. But because fortunately I did a lot of pre-arrival study. I did a lot of pre-arrival networking and work. Uh, it was not that difficult, Gurasis,
Okay.
I would say. It was difficult, but I think I was well prepared to face the challenges, I would say.
So that was actually my next question regarding the pre-arrival. So tell us a little bit about the preparation that you did, and what is something that usually the immigrants that move to a new country completely miss that.
Understanding about the law of the new land, right? So whether it's accommodation, whether it's getting a job, I think the most important thing is how do people live in that region?
Hmm.
How do people live in Canada? What is culturally different, right? When I talk about these things, I think a couple of things which really helped me to be successful, earlier on in my journey was the power of networking. And when I was doing my pre-arrival work, Gurasis, I was actually using this. I think SOPA is name of this. I think agency which is funded by IRCC. I think we have a lot of agencies, like that,
Yeah.
in different parts of Canada. So I was using their pre-arrival, kind of. You can say workbook or kind of deck which really helped me. So whether it's accommodation, which websites for example you would have to search to get accommodation, right? Which bank accounts do you have, right? Websites of the bank account. Networking, how do you get jobs? So you talk about different events. Obviously LinkedIn was something which stood across all your networking. Everyone uses LinkedIn. So I think all of that really helped me. And also I think I kind of had this advantage of knowing some of my clients when I was working for a tech company based in India. So
Hmm.
we had different clients who were based in the US, not in Canada, but I think mostly in US. And when I used to talk to them, I could little understand different culture differences. We had a couple of Canadian clients as well, so it was kind of not something which was uh, you are going in the dark and you don't know anything, right? So
Yeah.
I always had some information about, for example, my clients who are in Canada, right? So I was always in touch with them. I started applying for jobs when I was still in India. So I think all of this really helped me. And then obviously I had my sister, so definitely some inputs from your family and friends really helps you to when you are coming to a new country. But definitely this was very very different, for sure.
And I think, like you have said initially, that you were always a planner, since maybe it was changing cities within the same country or moving countries, you were always a planner, and that has definitely worked in your favor in that. And I think this would also be the right time to talk about Arrive. If you'd like to share with us, you work as ambassador there. Tell us about that.
So March 2020, I think the entire world was locked down because of COVID, right? And I, had recently started my job there, and I started in January, and I was like, oh my God, what has happened? But one thing which I recognized pretty early on in my Canadian journey was the importance of volunteering in Canada, right?
Hmm.
So people do really value your, volunteer efforts, hours that you put in, no matter what are you volunteering for. Like, is it, for childcare? Is it for hospitals? Is it for a store? If you are doing anything which is an unpaid stuff but you are doing it to give back to the society, I
Yeah.
think it is always acknowledged. And that was a time when I thought, Pratik, I have got my first job. Obviously, it's not the best job or the job that I wanted, but I still have the job. I'm fortunate. It's COVID time. There are a lot of immigrants coming to the country. How can I give back to the society? So that's when I joined Arrive as an ambassador. And Arrive in is actually an RBC Ventures
Yeah.
company, so powered by RBC Ventures. And really, they help people in both pre-arrival and post-arrival. So if you go to the website, they will have different articles. They used to host different webinars. They would have, for example,
Hmm.
some people from RBC Bank who would help you to set up a new bank account. So really, helpful and powerful tool for immigrants, even students, coming in, who are, let's say, students are in Toronto and they want to move to, let's say, Saskatoon or different city, or immigrants have to move. What are different, things that you have to keep in mind? So I think that was when I started volunteering and became an ambassador. And since then, I think I've just mentored so many people. And mentoring does not mean that I'm always telling them how to do things. Sometimes it's just about listening to them,
Yeah.
because a lot of people come here, they don't have anyone to talk about, right? So just listening to them, hearing what they have to say, and then giving them advices, suggestions based on my personal journey, what has worked for me. And people do feel appreciated when they get help.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes you just need somebody to listen to you and kind of help you take the next steps, or what is the right choice to make at this moment, especially somebody who has walked the path. So it's the best, that's the best person to ask about it. And about the platform, Rive and Prateek, I think I had somebody opportunity to speak to somebody else on the podcast, and I think I cannot highlight this more and more, that it's an amazing platform. To all my listeners, I think you think about something that's already there. Need an article about, I don't know, accommodation, need an article about housing, need an article about just coming to a country, article about networking. Just think about it and you'll find an article there. So I highly, highly recommend our listeners to definitely check the platform. I'll put the links in the show notes. So, Pratik, you also lived in Saskatoon, right? You moved from Toronto to Saskatoon, and now you're in Calgary, of course. So, I have never spoken to anybody who is from Saskatoon. I've never been there. In fact, I've not been to enough cities in Canada, but Saskatoon is obviously one of them. And since I have you, tell us about the experience of living there and what is even the cost of living there.
Excellent. Excellent.
Mhm.
My two words. Obviously, it's a very, very small city, Gurasis, when you compare it with likes of Toronto, Vancouver, even Calgary. But I love the people of Saskatoon. I think as any other small city, people are more friendly. They are more accommodating, I would say. And I moved to Saskatoon because I got a very good opportunity to work for a technology company. I knew no one when I was coming to Saskatoon. And I still remember I booked my accommodation online using Facebook Marketplace,
Mhm.
and the owner actually came to pick me from the airport. Can you imagine?
Really?
Someone who I've never lived with. I've just pays some deposit to them, and I still have not confirmed the accommodation. They are coming to the airport to pick me up and show me the house, and I still have to decide. So I think people are so nice. Definitely, it's a small city, so it will not have everything that a big city has. Probably bigger shopping malls or different activities and different things that you can do. Definitely one of the coldest places to live in Canada, but I think for my work I had to come here. But overall experience was really good. I think it is also, if not the fastest, probably one of the fastest growing cities in Canada now. A lot of new immigrants coming in, definitely. So population is increasing, and from the cost of living perspective, Gurasis, I think it's still pretty affordable. So when you talk about, like, for example, car insurance, the housing prices, I think that's pretty
Affordable?
less expensive, cost effective, yeah, affordable from other cities. But again, like, the thing is, the question that I used to ask was, okay, I'm not earning that much, cost of living is less, but the thing is that I don't have a lot of places to spend my money on, because there is just not so much to do,
Hmm.
right? And especially when you're coming from a big city, you'll always have that, that you'll have probably less people from, let's say, your culture or your
Yeah.
kind of city or demographics. But overall, I always encourage people, if they have to move to Saskatoon for any reason, whether it's job or getting their PR or whatever, absolutely recommend the city. It's beautiful, I love the people. And yeah, I think that's my 2 cents on Saskatoon. So really, really good time spent, in Saskatoon for sure.
Well, I hope you checked the zeros while paying the deposit to your landlord, that he came to pick you up, especially from the airport. That's something new I've heard.
I did, I did check, but yeah, landlord, I'm still in touch with them and they are amazing.
And you also ran a marathon there, right? It was the first in-person Saskatchewan marathon since the start of pandemic. And was it like 10 kilometer, I believe? Tell us about that experience.
Yes, I think because again I was alone, I wanted to do something. I was, hitting gym every day, and I thought, let me participate in this marathon as well. I have participated in a couple of marathons while I was still in India, and it was definitely first marathon Saskatchewan in Canada. And I ran with one of my friend, and luckily got featured in, I think, one of the, I think, CBC news articles. We got someone from there who interviewed us, so it was a good experience. And yeah, I think it was great experience for sure, and it was 10 kilometers. Yeah, and I also did my best time, which was, I think, sub 60, so 57-58 minutes. Yeah.
So, Pratik, I also like heard in one of the interviews you mentioned that the one of the biggest challenges you had was, and for many immigrants also, I think they relate to that, is understanding what is not going right and how can I improvise. And when I heard that, I also kind of thought about my experiences when I moved to Canada. You are sort of like in this loop of going to the job, coming back home, getting your food, and then sleeping, and you are in this like continuous loop, and you have no time to reflect, especially somebody like me who was always under the parents shelter, and now I'm started living on my own, and I'm just trying to going on to the next thing which will help me survive in this new country, and I'm not at all reflecting what am I liking, what I'm not liking, how am I feeling in this new world. But I wanted to just expand a little bit about more on that, and how was your experience and how did you kind of cope up with that situation?
Very good question, Gurasis. And I think really the only way that you can, reflect on certain things that you would like to change or would help, you to progress in your career or even in your personal life, is sometimes just to talk to people around you.
Hmm.
And to do that, you need to have good people around you. Like, you can't just talk to anyone, right? So when you talk about networking or people that you spend most of your time, people say that you're average of the 5 people you spend most time with, right?
Absolutely.
So you have to have those good people in your life. And I think for me, what worked was I had great mentors when I came to Canada. And these were mentors which I met when I came to Canada at part of different networking events.
Hmm.
A couple of them really helped me, guided me. And for example, very small things like, I'm interviewing for a job but I'm not getting a job. Now how would I know what I'm doing wrong, right?
Yeah.
Because no one gives me feedback. So I have to talk to someone, or I have to give those, kind of demo interviews to, let's say, my mentors or my friends, and then have them give me that feedback, that what is something that is required, what are employers looking for. And then also importantly, to talk between your industry peers. If you are,
Yeah.
let's say, a partner manager, talk to a different partner manager, or a partner manager VP to a different company, and use that 15 minutes of informational interview to understand what are they looking for when they're hiring. So I think all of that was really helpful. So sometimes it's important to self reflect, but you need another one's feedback to be able to identify what is not going right and what is not going wrong,
Yeah.
what is wrong. And then you improvise based on, okay, do you want to even change this, or are you okay with doing wrong, right? So again, I think having those people in your life, having a couple of good mentors, people around you to talk to, and then always talking to your industry peers, and understanding, okay, if they are now at a VP level, or they are, doing great in their careers, for example, what have they done differently to reach there? And then always trying to do that, whether it's getting certifications, whether it's studying more, whether it's networking. So I think again, there are different ways to do that, but that's how I did. I
Mhm.
definitely leaned on others, very good people, for feedback and support.
And I believe LinkedIn was definitely like one of your platforms you were using to kind of connect with people, right? And I think LinkedIn is one of the platforms which is like a long time commitment, of course. And but don't you think like people sometimes get bogged down by not receiving those responses to, so what advice would you give to somebody who is kind of in the same boat where they're trying to network but not looming enough responses?
The first thing is, are you networking with the right people, right? And that first message that you send to someone when you are sending them a connection request, that is so powerful, right?
Yeah,
What are you writing in that message? It is powerful, right? Everyone is busy in their life. If I want to give you 15 minutes, you have to earn that 15 minutes of my time, right? And that is
absolutely.
only when and the best way that I figured out was, how can I add value to someone else before even expecting or asking for anything in return, right? So it's always that give mentality, which a lot of
Mm,
people don't have, right? Everyone wants a job. They will go to LinkedIn, they will connect, and they will say, I saw a job on your company's profile, can you refer me? How can someone refer
good for
you?
you. Yeah,
Like, it's absurd. Like, what have you contributed or added to their life? Have you given something? So I always thought that it's important, and again, this is based on my networking with people and
yeah,
peers and my mentors. That's how the LinkedIn has to be used. So I think that was something which I use, and I still do it. What value can I add to your life first, and then if everything goes good, then you would automatically start reciprocating and giving me all those things.
definitely. Yeah. Okay, so before we get into the final segment, Prateek, I just have this one question to ask you where, you have talked that people are looking for good advice, like we just discussed, and but it's not always easy to get good advice from right people. They're always there to throw you apart, or they just don't want to give you the right advice, or that they will just belittle you for who you are and will probably give you false hopes. And I feel like there is a story, or there's like a experience behind this, the reason that you have said this. And if you remember, no pressure, can you please share with us that what was your experience that happened that led you say that people sometimes want to give you advice but they don't give you the right advice?
Good, Assis. Very good question. And I think how would I answer this is, I personally never got into this situation. However,
Okay.
when I was mentoring, or I do mentor a lot of newcomers, they always talk about different advice or suggestions that they got from someone else, with whom they were talking. A lot of times it could be family members. For example, I still remember someone who came as a PR, and I think he was living, I think, in Brampton, maybe at their cousin's place, and he was looking for a good marketing job. He
Hmm.
had tons of experience, and then when I talked to that person, he said, you know what, I'm living with my family, like extended family. I'm in basement, and what they are telling me is, you know what, you go to Tim Hortons, you don't have to wait for your job. You just go and do any job, it's all good. Or
Okay.
you join the trucking industry, right? So and he was someone who has like tons of experience, right? So there are people who
Hmm.
would probably belittle your experience, or who would say, you know what, why do you want to do the same stuff that you were doing in your home country? Do anything, you have to earn. So that is something which a lot of people, again, it depends how mentally strong you are.
Yeah.
Some people fall into that trap and they say, okay, let's do whatever is available. And some people are convinced, they do have that self confidence. So I heard those stories from a lot of people was giving very vague advices. So I think that
Okay.
is something which you have to be mindful as an immigrant, that you have to do your own work. Even if you have extended families, you have friends and family, it's your job, it's your work. No one has enough time to talk to you, no one has enough time to sometimes give you the right advice. You have to figure it out, and that's how I did.
Yeah.
You listen to everyone, but you do what is right for you and what makes you happy. So I think these were like these kind of stories were there, which I kind of heard, but nothing fortunately happened with me for per se.
Okay. But that's good to hear, Ben. Thank you for sharing that story, and that's definitely gonna make people well equipped with the information that is necessary to network with people, and more importantly, with the right people. And speaking of networking and the right people, to talk a little bit about the immigrant networks for which you are the newcomers ambassador, and talk a little bit about that and how can people connect with you.
Right. So, like you mentioned, Arrive. Now, Immigrant Network is also uh, kind of little similar, but again, very, very different because Immigrant Networks is built by immigrants for immigrants, right? So it's really a networking online community where if you are a Canadian, like a student, international student who is in Canada, you are a permanent resident, you are an immigrant, and you really want to network, right? Uh, it's easier for someone who is not an immigrant to give you advice and suggestions when they have not gone through the same experience,
Yeah,
and it's really different when it comes to an immigrant giving advice and suggestions to an immigrant, right, who is struggling. There is a lot of difference. They know what you have been through. So immigrant network is similar such kind of model where you can just join the community by going to immigrantnetworks.com. Anyone can become a member, and once you become a member, we have sessions every Wednesday.
okay,
I think at 6 p.m. I think MST or Mountain Standard Time, 5 p.m. I think Vancouver time. And these sessions could be anywhere from how to do networking, or we could have a panel discussion maybe on banking, or
okay,
we might have someone from the tech industry. So different topics, or sometimes about how to be positive when you are not finding jobs, right? So there are a lot of
absolutely,
things which we cover, and there are ambassadors on this call like myself. There are people who are joining as new immigrants, new students, and then that's there is a dialogue. So after a presentation about a topic, we have open forum to discuss Q&A. And then this community, it also, there is a bot which matches you with people from the same network. So
Hmm.
let's say if someone joins in and they fill their profile that I'm in IT and I'm this, they would pair you with someone from within the network
Okay,
so that you can talk to, right? So the bot does it automatically. You get paired to a person every, I think, Sunday or Thursday. That's when you get paired. But again, great way to just leverage the community because there are lots of people. So why not leverage immigrants to help new budding immigrants who are finding it difficult to help? So
okay.
that's what we do.
And people can reach out to you on LinkedIn if they want to just talk to you.
Absolutely. I think LinkedIn is the best place because even if they go to immigrantnetworks.com and they get registered, they can see me in their, like,
Master
ambassador's
list, yeah.
profile. They can, see myself, my LinkedIn profile, or they can just connect with me as well on LinkedIn.
So, to all my listeners, the links to contact Prateek and to look on the other platforms you work with, the links to that can be found in the show notes. Okay, Prateek, so we are in the final segment of the podcast. I call it Beneath the Accent. I'm going to ask a couple of questions. You can answer them in one word or a sentence or however you feel like. The idea is just to know more about you. So, ready?
Sure.
So, what's this one habit you adopted that has changed your life?
Consistency.
Is this something you recently bought and you now regret?
No.
So, what's the most expensive thing you own?
I think as of now, my SUV, my car,
Okay. So, what's the most expensive thing you would like to own?
probably a house soon.
Name three things on your bucket list.
This is good one. Going to Antarctica
Okay.
for a cruise, traveling with my wife,
Hmm.
spending time with her, and getting my parents to Canada.
Okay. So, who's your go to person when you feel stuck?
A lot of times, I would say my mom and my wife.
So, what advice would you give to Prateek, who is in the initial months of landing in Canada?
Be confident, prepare yourself for the worst, always have a plan B, but plan, and be consistent.
So, are there any movies that you like to watch over and over again?
I like the Need for Speed series, so I do watch them quite a bit
Okay.
every now and then. I still remember one of my favorite movies, Titanic, which sometimes I do watch. Uh, Not a very hardcore movie fan, but I think these are few that I sometimes watch every now and then.
So, are there any series or movies that you're watching right now?
Not exactly. I have my parents right now, so I think we spend a lot of time just going out and enjoying. So I think not so much time spent on watching series and stuff.
If you could have one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
South Indian, dosa, idli. I can
Okay.
have it every day, all year.
Okay. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Educate and inspire people around me.
If you could describe yourself any creature, what would it be?
Okay, I have never thought about this. But probably I would say a dog.
Okay.
I'm pretty loyal with my network, with my family, with people around me. So people can definitely, you know, uh, have me as someone who can be trusted upon.
So describe Canada in one word or a sentence.
Definitely land of opportunities
Mhm.
if you know how to pick up the opportunities.
So on that note, Prateek, thank you so much for being on the podcast and adding value to my listeners.
Thank you so much, Gurasis. Great being here.
Hey listener, thank you for making it to the end. I highly appreciate you listening the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't as yet, and please share with your friends or anybody you think would like it. And like I always say, we encourage you to follow your heart, but also us on Instagram. The handle is mythicaccent. You can also leave us a review or write to us at hello@mythicaccent.com. So stay tuned and let's continue knowing each other beneath the accent.